The views expressed are solely those of the speaker and not necessarily those of paltalk.com, AVM Software, or its advertisers.
News Talk is online. News Talk Online is a production of paltalk.com, the largest multimedia interactive program on the internet, with more than 4 million unique users on demand on iTunes and on YouTube. And thanks to our good friends at CRN Digital Talk Radio, we're syndicated to an additional 12 million households. And you can also find the show archived and my blog postings at GaryBaumgarten.com, where you're encouraged to post your comments, whether you agree with yours truly or not. No retribution. Well, we have two issues that we're going to discuss today. One is the impending retirement in June of a member of the Supreme Court who turned out to be a surprise. He was supposed to be a conservative, but he turned out to be a pretty liberal Supreme Court justice. And an opportunity for Barack Obama as president for the first time to help shape the course of the Supreme Court with his appointment. But first, as we have been discussing on the blog and on this program, the Taliban continues its incursion in Pakistan. Of late, the Pakistani army has been some of those insurgents there, but it's troubling on a number of fronts, the least of which is not the fact that Pakistan is a nuclear nation. And when the president was asked about this, President Obama, during his Wednesday news conference that we carried live right here on News Talk Online at paltalk.com, he suggested that the nuclear arsenal is safe, but he is worried that the government of Pakistan might collapse, that they're losing control of civil order inside of Pakistan. And that, of course, is a very troubling thought indeed. Joining us to start off this portion of the conversation is Cassandra in the United Kingdom. Cassandra, welcome to News Talk Online on paltalk.com.
Well, thanks, Gary. I think it's a very critical issue, and I think it is one of the, for me as a Brit, with our troops having pulled out of Iraq now, and likely to becoming more engaged in Afghanistan, I think for us it's a critical issue. Plus the fact that we have a tremendous number of people from Pakistan in the United Kingdom. I think it's a very, very difficult situation because you've got a country there, Pakistan, which is essentially started off as a secular country, but has a very strong leaning towards the Islamic State, and I think there is a dichotomy between the military and the government over sort of what it should be. But of course, what we've seen is the increase of the number of people from the Taliban coming into the country over the last few months, and this seems to be a very dire situation, with the Swat region having been virtually taken over by the Taliban, and now we hear of the increase of the number of Taliban people in the Upper Deir region. So it would look as though we have an increase in the Taliban influence. David Kilcullen in the Accidental Guerrilla was and he's a counterinsurgent expert and deals a lot with the US officers and officials, listed 20 instances where the Pakistani government and military had either covertly or overtly tolerated the Taliban and their terrorists, and that there is that there is an increasing number of people of toleration, increasing tolerance by the Pakistani government of the Taliban, and this is really what poses the biggest problem. The most overt attack that was tolerated was in 2009, when the government struck a deal in the Swat Valley with the Taliban, allowing them to set up an enclave of Sharia law in exchange for an end to the fighting in the region. The government justified this by claiming that they were co-opting them. Many citizens saw this as a surrender and were outraged at this, and as a sign of the breakdown of the central government authority. And that, I think, is the problem, that there is a belief that government has lost its grip, and that the government and the military have in fact sort of are at odds with each other. But the military, this latest incursion with into the Upper Dairies and into Brunei is one that they have in fact responded to, and they sort of people were saying, well, why the response now? And some of the military, they said some of the military have finally decided that enough is enough, and that it's a dangerous game that's being played. And maybe they're allowed a virtual takeover of the SWAT generals are doing enough to keep them from, sort of to keep aid flowing in. And that was also a suggestion that was why the generals were supporting them. And maybe there was a Taliban as being more of a hostile threat, sort of now than they originally thought them to be. Now, the Obama administration apparently is asking for approval for a $400 million military aid package to Pakistan, warning that the country will be at risk of collapse if they're not equipped to fight the Taliban. And General Petraeus also said that in the next 2 weeks are absolutely critical, and that if something isn't done, then the push forward of the Taliban could actually create even more of a danger. But Congress are saying it's still saying that they want assurances before this money is granted. But Obama said, as Gary, you just pointed out, that there was some recognition that the greatest threat was not India, but the internal developments, and they could be regarded as a mortal threat. But it looks as though we have this real dichotomy with Pakistan, where do you actually fund them and risk funding them, and that aid